Show of hands, who else went to Colorado State? No one? Oh my gosh. Where'd you go? Did you really go to the University of Colorado? Oh, you guys are killing me. I shouldn't have said anything. All right. Informal presentation. It's a small room. If you guys have any questions and context, feel free to raise your hand. Otherwise, I'll run through the content, and then we've got a Q&A at the end. So BJ Moore, CIO at Providence St. Joseph Health. Been there 4 months. Before that, I was at Microsoft for 26 years. The reason for the title of this is at Microsoft, I completed our journey to the cloud. So I'm calling that Journey to the Cloud 1.0. Just joined Providence and starting that journey to the cloud from scratch, and very different experiences. So just kind of wanted to share with you quickly my Microsoft experience, kind of my current experience at Providence St. Joseph Health, and kind of the headwinds and strategies moving forward. Okay? So first, let me give you some background on Providence St. Joseph Health. We're the big company that nobody has ever heard of. So Providence St. Joseph Health, show of hands, who knows about us? Oh, come on, you guys. I always have to, people give me the blank stare, and I always have to say Swedish. Have you heard of Swedish? Well, Swedish is one of the 51 hospitals in our hospital system. So some quick stats. We have 115,000 employees, actually more employees than Microsoft. We're a $24 billion organization. We are the third largest healthcare system in the United States, number one on the West Coast. So big business. What a lot of people don't know is we've got other businesses that we're in as well. We're also a consulting provider, solution provider. So these small hospital systems, community hospitals that aren't able to have their own electronic health record systems will come in and deploy that for them. Allows these smaller community health systems to have advanced technology and allows us to exchange patients seamlessly with them. So it's a win-win experience. And then the other piece is we have a venture fund. We have a $300 million venture fund where we'll go out and invest in startups. We'll do startup acquisitions, or we actually do incubation. We'll start small companies inside, get a couple external customers, and if it looks like a compelling business model, we'll spin those out as independent companies. Example is Zelf, a local company here in Seattle that we spun out a couple years ago. They're having some big success. So think of us as a large healthcare system, but we're big in the community, big in startups, big in investments. So quick background on Providence. So as I said, I was at Microsoft for 26 years. And as you can imagine, Microsoft getting in the cloud business, they needed a showcase. And so in about 2012, they came to me at Microsoft and said, we need a showcase, we need an enterprise business that's running on the cloud, we need to show our customers you can run an end-to-end business on the cloud successfully. And so I took our $70 billion Microsoft commercial business, that entire ecosystem, and I'm happy to say at the end of 2018, we completed that journey. So all of our environments, all of our financial environments, everything that supported that $70 billion business, we moved to the cloud end to end. And because we started that journey in 2012, we made a lot of mistakes along the way. As I share some of these mistakes, for those of you that have started your journey more recently, they're probably duh. But back in 2012, there was nobody to talk to. Microsoft Azure was very immature. We made a lot of mistakes. The first epiphany we had was moving to the cloud was actually more expensive. If we just took our on-premises data center and moved it to Azure, it was going to be almost double in cost, just the lift and shift. And so we had to change the way we did our praxis, and that comes to the next bullet. Don't let a good crisis go to waste. So here was an opportunity to say we've got 20 years of baggage, legacy applications, legacy way of doing things, dev and test and UAT environments. Let's jettison all those. Do we really need these applications in this modern world? Do we really need all these legacy environments in that world? And so we use that opportunity, this crisis of moving to the cloud to really clean house. And just order of magnitude, we had about 6,500 servers we needed to move to the cloud. When we were done, we only moved about 2,800. The others were just superfluous, redundant, tied to legacy applications or processes, so we eliminated those. We ended up moving a lot of our on-premises VMs to infrastructure as a service. But naively back in 2012, we thought really to get the value out of the cloud, we needed to move to platform as a service. So we took an application, it was costing us about $50,000 a year to support. Said, all right, team, rewrite this as a platform as a service application instead of a legacy application. We'll dog food that, see how it goes. 9 months and $1 million later, we converted that app to the platform as a service. It worked fantastic, but if you do the math, you can't take $50,000 apps and rewrite them at $1 million a pop. Isn't going to scale, so we abandoned that strategy. And really for legacy applications, we went this VM to IaaS strategy. All new applications at Microsoft, as we built new ones, were built on PaaS. Really to leverage the power of the Azure platform, you really had to build native apps. We didn't use software as a service much at Microsoft. A lot of the software as a service products were competitors. And so if I were to go to Satya and said, hey, we've got this amazing Oracle Cloud deployment that we're doing, he would have been too excited. So SaaS was not a huge lever we could pull while at Microsoft. And then, that move to the cloud, we really used as an opportunity to modernize our engineering practices, move to DevOps, adopt Agile, right? It wasn't just this infrastructure shift. It was really changing the way we delivered software and did business. So that was my journey to the cloud 1.0. I saw some smiles in here. Some of these were kind of rookie, naive mistakes. But like I said, 2012, 2013, we didn't know any better. So here at Providence St. Joseph Health, doing the version 2.0 move to the cloud. At Microsoft, the move to the cloud was a showcase, show other enterprise customers that you could run a $70 billion business end to end. So I got a lot of license in making that move. Providence St. Joseph Health, we're a healthcare system. And so the imperatives of moving to the cloud are quite different. They're really more driven by these strategic drivers. First observation I have is SaaS applications are really where the innovation is happening. Right? If you've got a software company that's only an on-premises software company, they're going to either go out of business soon, probably not attracting a lot of great talent, probably not doing a lot of innovation, so that's kind of a red flag for me. These on-premises only software solutions, not a great place to bet. Those companies that have hybrids, take Oracle as an example, have on-premises applications as well as cloud applications. All their innovation is going to be happening on the SaaS side of things. And so, strategic imperative where the innovation is happening, it's a no-brainer for us to truly adopt SaaS applications. Another strategic imperative is because we're a healthcare system, we really need to focus on our core competencies, network, data centers, spinning up infrastructure. That's not the role of a healthcare system. That's not my value add. My ability to attract talent there isn't there. So strategic imperative is how do I leverage these commodity capabilities you can get from Azure or from AWS and take my precious resources to do something that's more strategic. Ability to be more agile, right? When I'm running my own data centers, it takes 3 months to order hardware and get it set up. I do a big data strategy. Maybe it doesn't work well. Well, what am I going to do with all this hardware? First, it took me 3 months to even get the environments up. It didn't work out well. What am I going to do with these environments? So being on the cloud, being able to experiment and be agile, spin up experiments, close them down, move on to other experiments is going to be super critical. And then, lower TCO, the cloud, knowing the lessons I learned from Microsoft. Moving to the cloud for us at Providence St. Joseph Health will be a big cost savings, and I'm going to take those cost savings to invest in innovation. We're about 20 years behind, so if you remember what your IT shop looked like in 1999, that's what my IT shop looks like today. And so every dollar I'm saving, I'm going to invest in innovation and really moving the ball forward on that front. Headwinds or opportunities, depending if you're an optimistic person. I'm pessimistic, so I'm going to call them headwinds. Bit shocking to me at Microsoft when I said we're going to the cloud. Everybody was all in, showcase. Satya was super excited, looking for this enterprise showcase. Needless to say, in a healthcare system, I don't get that same kind of excitement. There's a lot of risk aversion. So I've been there 4 months. The first 2 months, people were explaining to me, this is healthcare, you can't go to the cloud isn't secure, there's too much latency. I heard some crazy excuses. It was quite interesting. I should have recorded them all. But nobody was excited to go to the cloud, so huge risk aversion, huge pushback. And I know I have at least one Providence person here. Is there anybody else here from Providence? All right, Justin, this is a sworn secret. So the way I move my team off of this is actually funny. So real estate and facilities came to me, said, we're trying to sell a building in California, but your team says it's going to take 2.5 years to truck, this is not an exaggeration, to truck those servers from California to Las Vegas. And we can't sell a building and say, hey, it's going to take us 2.5 years to move out. Sounds like we can't sell this building. Do you agree with your team, BJ? Do you need to go talk to your team? I'm like, don't need to talk to my team. Sell the building, John. This is like the best news ever. I'll break the bad news to the team that the building's being sold and we have till August to get out of the data center. So I did that, didn't talk to the team, sat them down, said, hey, that data center we've got in California just got sold. We got August to get moved out. So a lot of gnashing of the teeth after week 1. The team realized they couldn't truck servers to Las Vegas by August, so they came up with this amazing idea of, why don't we move to the cloud? Like if we adopt Azure, we can go much faster. And 2 weeks later, the team was high-fiving me saying, this cloud thing's the best thing that ever happened to us. It's like exciting, it's innovative, like we're excited. So 2 months ago, my team said, this is healthcare, we can't move to the cloud. By August, we will have moved our first data center to the cloud. A little manipulative, but you got to get people on board somehow, and that's how I did it. I mentioned this already, 20-year-old infrastructure and IT practices. So it wasn't lift and shift at Microsoft. It's definitely not lift and shift here. We've got 4,000 applications. I'm not going to move 4,000 applications to the cloud. I've got applications. I know XP is not a server operating system, but I have applications running on XP. I'm not going to move those to the cloud. So there's some headwinds there. And again, don't let a good crisis go to waste. I need to change the way we do engineering. I need to change the culture. I need to change, agility, how we take on risk. There's certain things in a hospital system you don't want us to take risk on. But for every one of those, there's 9 things we can take a risk on. And so I'm going to focus on that. How are we doing for time? Great. So this is kind of our continuum of how at Providence St. Joseph Health we're going to go to the cloud. So my first lever I'm going to pull is the SaaS applications. Sticking with the Oracle Cloud example, I've got 12 ERP systems. We did a lot of growth through acquisitions. Our strategy in acquisitions wasn't to integrate these systems, so we've got 12 ERPs. So as I move to Oracle Cloud, I will move all 12 of those to Oracle Cloud once, simplify those processes, retire those 12 applications, get on SaaS. Like I said, that's where all the innovation, in this case, Oracle's going to be doing, is on their cloud platform, and so that'll be the primary lever I pull. The next one is, taking my lesson learned from Microsoft, not going to try to rewrite these 4,000 applications into paths. I'll lift and shift. First, I'll retire them, right? If I can just kill them or retire them, that'll be my first strategy. Second strategy will be to move to infrastructure as a service. And then the third one is to build native new applications, and those will be built on platform as a service. That's the only way you can get true scale and performance and extensibility. Can use the building blocks, that Microsoft and Amazon and others have already built. Be able to get solutions to market much faster. I joined Providence St. Joseph Health, as sexy as it sounds, not to move 4,000 applications to the cloud. Really, the reason I went there is to have innovation in healthcare. I think a big part of that is going to be around big data, machine learning, artificial intelligence. The health data that we have today, we just use transactionally. With machine learning and AI, I think we can have big breakthroughs from a healthcare perspective. What are the precursors of diabetes? And a year or 2 years in advance, Justin, we've looked at your health record, and here you've got all these precursors based upon the 35 million, patients we have. You're on a track to diabetes, and we can, intercept that early, prevent you from getting diabetes. I think you can only do that, with big data, machine learning, AI. It's not going to be a doctor looking at every 35 million, patient and doing that. And then, if we're really going to move the needle on healthcare, we're going to need to really embrace these modern engineering, DevOps, get that agility, experimentation, flighting, A/B testing, the modern things that any online service company would do. So we're really, really going to embrace that. So as far as formal content, that's all I had. Hoping for some questions. We've got 10 minutes for questions. Yeah, I think we also have mics. Yep. So if we can do a mic runner, that would be great. We can't put you on mic duty.
I'll be on mic duty, sure.
Okay. All right.
Go ahead.
Hey, good to see you, BJ. I am sorry about the lessons learned in 2012. I was there with you doing that.
Yep. And back then, it was true experimentation. We tried a lot of different paths.
Yeah, that's a conversation for another time. After 21 years there myself, I'm now doing a very similar role than you in the pharmacy space.
Okay.
In a local company. So I very much appreciate
Probably
what
it
you
resonace with you in the pharmacy industry as well.
In a big way, right?
Yep.
I mean, it's about innovation in the stuff. So, but the question that I have for you is, at some point you will get to a steady state with either migration or killing applications or rewriting stuff.
Yep.
What are your thoughts in terms of the enterprise architecture for accomplishing the artificial intelligence, the BI, the predictive analytics that you're talking about, especially when you have this different set of assets that are generating tons of data. I ask you the question because I'm thinking through the exact same thing right now in my own company that I'm doing. I'm doing the VP of cloud development at a pharma company.
So I've kind of painted the worst picture for you. First of all, I think we provide world-class healthcare. I mean, if you've gone to any of our health systems, I think that our patient care is great. One of the strengths I didn't talk about, so in healthcare, in a lot of businesses like Microsoft, SAP, or ERP systems, kind of the center of your universe. In a healthcare system, the center of the universe is the electronic health record. And we're already on a good journey of where we've standardized that on a core platform called Epic. And so we're gathering people's core health record already really well. And I would call that not big data, that's a data warehouse. So we have about 100 terabytes worth of data on patients, 35 million patients. And so that will become the kernel of our big data strategy. And big data is obviously not 100 terabytes of data, it's how do we start adding to that. And so I mentioned Xealth earlier. Xealth allows you as a patient to start adding your personal devices to your health record. So you can opt in your smart scale, your CPAP machine, your smartwatch, so your activity or your heart rate. And that's how we're going to take your health record, which is, this is when you went to the visit, and your blood tests, and your images, your diagnosis, the medicines you're taking, all those, which are super rich. But now start adding on, your daily weight. You used your CPAP last night, didn't. Your sleep quality, your heart rate, and these things. That's when we're really going to have a big data model to start putting these machine learning and AI after it. So a simple example of, everything right now in healthcare is very episodic, right? You get sick, you go to the doctor cures or doesn't cure you, and then you're not seen again until you get sick. In this kind of big data world, we can proactively engage you. So a simple example is if I was uploading my heart rate data last fall, I went to Napa Valley. My resting heart rate's normally in the 50s. And now I'm in Napa Valley, it's like 90 degrees. My heart rate's now in the 60s, and then the 70s, and then the 80s, and then the 90s. I'm just sitting there, and my heart rate's racing in the 90s. And it took me a while to figure out, I'm dehydrated. Like, I'm not used to this heat. Like, I haven't been drinking all day. I drank some water, my heart rate came right down. Well, in this big data ML world, right, there could have been a bot that's constantly monitoring my health. And it knows, hey, BJ's resting heart rate's normally in the 50s. Why is it in the 90s? And it would know that my activity was low. It would know I was in an area where the temperature was high. It could have texted me or on an app sent me something proactive and said, you know, hey, I'm worried you're dehydrated. Are you drinking enough? So that's just a simple example of where big data and technology, we can start interacting with people and help them make smart health decisions real time instead of, you know, episodic when you've, you know, got an issue and you go to the doctor just, you know, once a year or once every 5 years. So to answer your question architecturally, we'll take that health record, we'll start adding to it to build that big data model, and then hopefully just that simple example shows how we could really start using these pieces of technology to innovate in healthcare.
Hi. So I was wondering, I'm an attorney. I represent a lot of startups. Yeah.
Am I in trouble already? I've only been here 4 months.
Let me tell you how many
You're
ways.
not serving me, are you?
So there's a lot of these startups who go and they try to find entree with a hospital system, or you know, they partner, they find channel partners, that sort of thing. But I kind of always wonder about sort of a lack of efficiency, just seems like a really inefficient process where somebody comes up with an idea, they develop a prototype, they go to some hospital system, try to get adoption, you know, and so I'm wondering, in terms of your selecting your initiatives, maybe you could talk about sort of what the process is, and also is some sort of joint venturing with other hospital systems or others out there in the works?
So I wish I had a great answer for you. Unfortunately, we're kind of employing the process that you're explaining, right? We're the #1 healthcare system here on the West Coast, so we get a lot of tech people reaching out to us. And the mode we do it is, you know, we've got 51 hospitals, and so we do a lot of pilots. We'll say, all right, you developer located in, you know, Northern California, we got a hospital there. Why don't we do a small pilot in this hospital? The data, let's do it for 3 months. Let's evaluate the results. Is it compelling? For us, the value proposition is we may get some breakthrough piece of tech that we can then spread to the rest of the hospitals. For the engineers, it's a chance to experiment with, you know, in a real hospital environment and really see what's working, not working, improve their product. That's one way we're doing it. I mentioned we've got our $300 million investment fund, so they're constantly hearing pitches, going out, investing. That's another way. Probably is a better way to scale, you know, based on the way you kind of phrased your question, but that's how we're approaching it at this point. Yeah.
We have another question. Oh.
We do joint ventures. We are doing more with other hospital systems. You know, we've grown through acquisitions because we're so big already. We're looking at more partnerships or joint ventures versus straight out acquisitions with other hospital systems. So we're deploying all those.
Question here.
Okay.
So you talked about your team that was at first resistant to and then excited about moving to cloud. And then in such a short period of time, you're going to move a data center to cloud. So did you upskill that team? Did you bring in a different team? Did you use third-party services? What's your plan? Is that team going to remain on?
In this case, I brought in it was in partnership with Microsoft. So I've got my Microsoft network still. I should have mentioned it. Healthcare is 18% of the GDP. We are the single largest industry in the United States. So somebody like Microsoft's super interested in partnering with us. So they've come in, helped us do an architectural overview. We've got a third-party partner that's coming in and helping us do that. So between Microsoft and this third-party partner, they're helping do the migration, but also teaching my team to fish as well. So data center 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they're more skilled. So we're employing both. My take as a leader is necessity is the mother of invention, and so in this case, creating that sense, burning the ship, creating that sense of urgency has caused people to be laser focused on that knowledge transfer. And what's great, I mean, it is manipulative, and that's normally not a thing I deploy, but they're really, you've never seen a team so engaged. I mean, they're really excited in a positive way. I mean, and I thought they were just saying that to my face. I've had other people, other organizations, other vendors that work with the same team. BJ, I don't know what you've done with this team, but like they have a sense of pride and urgency and excitement that I've never seen this team have. So it's been invigorating for them.
Okay. So a lot has been discussed about kind of multi-cloud in the conference here, and curious about your perspective on that and what you look for. And then, are the days of people standing up and saying, hey, I'm all in on a certain provider done? Just curious.
So maybe I'll buck the trend. Yeah, obviously I have a Microsoft Azure bias because I spent 26 years at Microsoft, so that plays into it. Workloads for me don't naturally split between cloud providers. This electronic health record, Epic, is a single application, but there's 200-300 applications closely tied to that. It'd be hard to bifurcate that across clouds. So my cloud strategy in leveraging AWS is going to be more on the ML, AI, experimentation, those kind of PaaS services that Amazon's really excelling at. But really infrastructure as a service, other maybe BCDR, there's not really a natural move between those. The other thing I need to think about is security and privacy. Health records are really, it's really critical. We maintain the trust of our patients. There's some cloud providers I trust more than others. I'll leave it generic like that. And then I also have to look at, competitive situations where, who's a partner today that may be a competitor tomorrow. And so that also weighs into my cloud provider choice as well.
Yeah, so you kind of led into my question.
Sure.
Spent the last year heavy on data and privacy and regulation, GRC, GDPR, CCPA, you name it. What are your thoughts on the journey ahead? How do you think of your data strategy, to your point, to prevent a data breach, to be in front of that? And then particularly, I mean, it's amazing you have this Epic system where you're actually collecting all this, health information about consumers. So what is your thought process kind of like in the crystal ball 10 years from now? What is that deja vu critical thought processes in this space?
I mean, my thought process now is we're trying to do everything, right? I've got my own data centers and building my own servers. I got to figure out how to secure those, secure everything, at the lowest level all the way up the stack. My current thinking is as I move to AWS and Azure, that core kind of security and capability is going to be there. Those partners can hire better talent, have better security practices than I can do. And then that allows my team to really focus on the things that are unique to my industry or my applications, just double down on security and privacy there. Versus today I'm trying to do it all, and it's hard to do it all well. So right now that's my thought, like get the basics, infrastructure and that security and privacy taken care of with a commodity service, and then focus on the differentiator for my specific industry. It's maybe a 2-year, 3-year strategy. I've only been in role 4 months. I haven't thought 10 years out yet, but that's my current strategy. Great.
Hi, BJ. Nice to see you again. I have a question about staffing and your leadership team.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And how are you? My perspective is this. I actually worked for Microsoft for 5 years.
Okay, great.
I worked in South Florida and the Jackson Memorial Systems and all the things that we did there.
Yep.
And one of the things I've always thought about with Microsoft when I worked there is bringing in more of a diverse leadership team.
Sure.
Women, minorities, African-American women.
Yep.
We are a bedrock of so many things, but we're not the voice, especially when it comes to healthcare. And being on that team that's making decisions like you're making about critical things. I love the question or the example you had about the watch and how if you had something that would be able to give you that kind of reflection. With AI, there's some things that are going in there that are kind of biased.
Yeah, there's an AI bias already. Yep.
And I feel as if bringing in
Yep.
someone that has that kind of vision
Yep.
would be critical as you build out your team and as you build out this
Yep.
infrastructure. I want to see your thoughts on that
Yep.
and if that's something that you've even thought about.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, Microsoft 26 years, Microsoft, the diversity mix is not where Microsoft wants it to be or society would want it to be. Contrast that with healthcare. At the healthcare system level, the 115,000 employees we have, significantly more diverse, right? It's over 50% women. 50% of our executive leadership team are women. So I come from an environment where we aspire towards this kind of diversity and equity, and I come to a healthcare system where, there's really good diversity. As it relates to my IT team itself, similar as the rest of the industry, we just don't have the diversity we want at the IT level, so that will certainly be a focus. There's, male-female diversity, racial diversity. There's also industry diversity. I mean, the CEO very specifically picked me because I didn't have any healthcare experience, very consciously. How do we get somebody that doesn't know healthcare in there? So we're certainly thinking about diversity from that perspective. But yeah, I mean, from an engineering perspective, diversity is important, and I don't think engineering-wise anybody's got that figured out. That's a journey we need to be on. And like your AI example is a good one. It's a great one, right? There's definitely AI bias.
So we'll do one more question here.
Hey, BJ.
Yep.
Is it working? I'll talk loudly. You run such a large organization between Providence and St. Joseph. I mean, we've heard you that you're putting the foot down and they're moving out to the cloud. But
Yep.
Are you going to move them all at the same pace, or are you going to move one like Providence before St. Joseph? How are you thinking about prioritization of the shift?
Yeah, I mean, the name is a compound name and it reflects the acquisitions. My IT shop is running Providence St. Joseph Health as a single healthcare system, so it won't be hospital by hospital or Providence versus St. Joseph. I've got 6 data centers. We'll start trying to, the first one we're doing by itself, the other 5 we'll try to do in parallel. The goal is to have that migration complete by the end of year 3. So that's the current plan. We won't segment it by business. It'll be more segmented by complexity of workload, interop, those things. Epic right now is actually a huge scale-up system. That'll be the last thing we move. We've already talked to Epic and Azure, and it currently couldn't run on the Azure platform. Its compute needs are actually greater than what Azure is, so that'll be the last thing we move. That's penciled in for year 3. But again, I mean, these are important things, but they're very tactical, strategic. If you talk to a patient, you talk to a caregiver, you talk to, the investors, these are tactics to achieve a goal, right? The quicker I can get these behind me, the quicker I can start focusing on big data and ML and AI, these things that actually change the way we can deliver healthcare. So yeah, August is fast for one data center, but I won't take my foot off that gas because we just need to get all that behind us and then focus on innovation.